Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages, welcome to Debate Crypto. In a world where hopium collides with common sense. What is up, Miguel? Starring your hosts, the Crypto Keeper, that's me, and you already know, Blockchain Crusader. What's up, Miguel?
What's up, dude? What's up?
Doing well, doing well. What's on the podium today?
Coinbase versus SEC and El
Oh,
Salvador. Bitcoin
okay.
manipulation. What's going on with the markets?
Okay, cool. Coinbase versus the SEC and some El Salvador información, huh?
Yep.
All
More
right,
countries
cool.
legalizing Bitcoin. Yet Bitcoin is going down right now. Doesn't make a lot of sense that it would be dropping the same day that they would be legalizing it. So,
Well, let's jump in the car because we need to get on a crash course and get going.
so yeah, dude. Let's start off with the Coinbase and not Coinbase, the El Salvador news.
Okay.
So, El Salvador, right, legalizes Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes live. Didn't expect it to go, without any issues. There was always going to be flaws and things going on, right? It's a new system. It's a, smaller country with less resources putting a system online like this. There's always going to be bugs, no matter what country it is. But the fact that Bitcoin dropped the same day and dropped significantly, right? It wasn't like a 2% down or anything like that. It was a significant drop. I believe there was manipulation so that the headlines weren't reading Bitcoin went off without a hitch on El Salvador, right?
Right.
Bitcoin pumping on the day that El Salvador adopted Bitcoin. They wanted the headlines to read Bitcoin volatile, Bitcoin's dropping, Bitcoin crashing again. Are we in a bear market, right? And I think that they want to suppress Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think this is what a lot of people don't understand. I've heard people say that, well, why aren't they like putting out, if there's so much manipulation going on, why aren't they putting out bullish news to get people to just ape in and just continue to FOMO and FOMO in? And to my response to that is, don't worry, they will. You know what I'm saying? Like they're just not there yet. So basically what's happening is a lot of people, a lot of companies, a lot of different entities are trying to get their hands on Bitcoin at a certain price, right? And so they all kind of have their numbers that they're trying to average in on. And if you think these people don't all talk to each other, you're crazy. They absolutely talk to each other. And so at the end of the day, the goal is to be able to continue to accumulate. And then that's the smart money. The smart money is accumulating, right? When they try to make you scared. And then when they try to make you feel good and rub your back, that is usually when the dump happens. So no matter what you think, whether you think you have a good grasp on this or not, you need to be aware and watch. That's why the saying is swim with the whales.
Yeah, I 100% agree. There's just no way it's a coincidence. They definitely want to keep the narrative to where actually Big Boy Crypto brought up a good point where they're trying to bring the narrative down, but not to the extent where they create a crash like they did in May, right? They're trying to create a temporary halt where we can let's delay this, but let's not go into a full FUD market and flood them with a bunch of FUD left and right. So they're trying to just keep things suppressed so that the headlines aren't really popping off with really good news around Bitcoin, right? We have Ukraine legalized Bitcoin, and no market movement, nothing, right? It just came out of nowhere, but it's another country legalizing it. I think we have Panama or another South American small country that's also putting some laws into their parliament, and yet we're seeing no price movement off Bitcoin.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
we're
think it.
seeing. Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that I think that at the end of the day, while this is all big news, I think that really part of the big news is just that it's legitimizing things and it's
Mhm.
adding another, hey, this Bitcoin thing is for real. It's
Yeah.
not just somebody down in, some basement somewhere, some computer geek in a basement somewhere mining Bitcoin. At this point, this is here to stay. Now, whether it gets adopted in the way that we believe that it's going to be adopted moving forward, whether a massive, like the United States, or whether we actually ever adopt it, or whether we just use it as part of our, system of DeFi, however that plays in, I
Mhm.
don't know. Right. And I think a lot of, you'd be crazy to say that you do know. But I think that along the way, these milestones being reached, i.e. El Salvador and other countries, just basically say, hey, Bitcoin's for real. It's not going anywhere. And along with that, there's just a lot of there's a lot of incentive for these big money hedge funds, these big money institutions to hold the price down until
Yes.
they're ready to let it rip. And guys, this is why I always say, do your research and understand these markets and pay attention, because even as well as Miguel and I know these markets, it is scary because you do not know. Like, listen, are they playing a little teeter totter game right now? Right? Are they
Yeah.
going to actually let a blow off top happen, or have we already seen the top? So there's different sides to this, obviously, but we could have already seen the top. Right now, everybody's expecting this huge blow off top. Miguel's expecting it. I'm expecting it. A huge run at a minimum. Right.
Yep.
What happens if they just kind of ease on in and all of a sudden it's down to 43, and then we're like, okay, well, as long as it stays above 42.5, we should be okay. And then it gets to 42.5, you're like, yeah, I'm a little nervous, but as long as we stay above 40, like we'll still be fine. We're still headed back up. And basically, at every $1,000 that this moves, when you have billions of dollars invested, it is a huge amount of profit. And so we don't know. We do believe that a huge move's coming, but we don't know. And so they utilize the fact that they do have the money to move this to their advantage.
Yeah, I agree. They're definitely trying to scare people into thinking that there isn't going to be another move up, and that, okay, it's time to get out of the markets, right? And it's not going to play. I really do believe we are going to see another move in the markets. And talking about institutions and getting into crypto, we saw there's actually an article that I forgot to bring up, but Mastercard acquired crypto analytics firm CipherTrace. So that right there, just that headline is telling you that a big company like Mastercard is saying, hey, we got to take a closer look into this whole crypto thing. And we're literally acquiring a firm just for analytics to see what is going on in the crypto markets
Yeah.
and how we can benefit from it.
Yeah, somebody
So,
asked me earlier about the graph, which is GRT, and
mhm,
that essentially is the Google of blockchains. It basically is indexing, information.
yeah,
And I think that Mastercard and Visa, and they are, whether they admit it openly or not, they are in this game. And there's going to be things like that are going to be very important for them to be able to pull data,
yes.
at any more. Data is number one. Guys, if you are on TikTok right now and you are wondering where we're at or what we're doing, we are over on YouTube. That's Debate Crypto, no spaces. You can jump on in there. You'll be able to see both of us. You can put questions in the chat. If you guys have questions over on TikTok, go over to Debate Crypto on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. We are going to be giving away some hardware wallets and whatnot as well. So just make sure you guys are subscribed so that when we do that, you can be a part of it.
Yeah. So I wanted to bring up into the conversation, why is it that Bitcoin, right, according to everybody, sucks? It's slow, it's a dinosaur, it's not even relevant anymore. There's so many other better coins. Yeah, why is it that it's always Bitcoin, the one that institutions like MasterCard, Visa, El Salvador, Ukraine, and so on is the coin that they go after? Bitcoin. They want to adopt Bitcoin. Bitcoin's always in the headlines.
I think it's got a couple things, in my opinion. I think, first of all, it is the decentralized giant that went first. They were the first to do it. It has not had any major, pitfalls to speak of. And as far as, at least if you believe the narrative, it is so decentralized that we don't even know who actually created it, right? We have a pseudonym of Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, people have their beliefs on who that is. Is it a group? Is it a specific person? Is it a government entity, government agency, whatever? But at the end of the day, it is a massive decentralized thing that is not going to be able to be stopped. And I think that as as people and these institutions started to realize that, hey, wait a minute, this doesn't really make sense for peer-to-peer transfers as it was initially set up. But wow, over time, it is performing. And I think that's what it is, Miguel. This has had the most time to show results. And these institutions look and say, wait a minute, over the last 10 years, 12 years, this thing has performed year over year better than any asset ever. So if you're going to go with the history, you would be going after what is first, is decentralized, and it freaking works. And I think that's what it is. I think it is that it works, people believe in it, and it is continuing to perform. And until it shows otherwise, I think it will continue to be that gold 2.0.
Yeah, I tend to 100% agree with that. It is gold 2.0, right? It is only going to be better and better at storing value long term, right? We're still in price discovery, right? We're still seeing how far can Bitcoin go. So people are like, it's not a store of value. It drops and it increases too rapidly to be a store of value. It's like, okay, yeah, by textbook definition, it's not a store of value, but if you look at markets as has this played out, what better asset to be in long term than Bitcoin? And as price discovery ends, and we do see how far Bitcoin goes, right? And we see this $1 million Bitcoin, so on. At $1 million Bitcoin's not going to be dropping from $1 million to 100,000 because it had a 90% retracement. That's not going to happen.
No.
That's not going to happen.
At some point, there is going to be stability. At some point, there is going to be so much into this, right? It's same thing with ETH. There's going to, a lot of people talk about this too. There's so many projects right now, right? There's 10,000 different crypto projects, right? It is going to whittle down to, a much smaller number than that. I'm not even going to put a number on it, but a much smaller number than that. And at the top might not even be Bitcoin. It might not stay Bitcoin, but what Bitcoin is going to do is exactly what gold does. Gold is considered a store of value. And listen, it's not jumping around like Bitcoin is, but I can all but guarantee you, when gold first came onto the scene as as a tradable asset, I can promise you that it was all over the place. I don't even have to look. I know it was all over the place. So that's what we're experiencing right now is this new asset, right? New, right? Because 10, 12 years
it's not long.
New, right? Yeah. And think about this. The stock market, right? Even though the swings in crypto are much, much larger and much faster, the stock market has been around for a long, long time. The crypto markets have not. And so when something is new and unknown, people tend to be scared. When people are scared, you have volatility. Volatility, though, and this is what I always like to stress, Miguel, and you already know what I'm going to say, volatility is your friend, because volatility is the reason that we're making so much money, period.
Yes. Without it, it wouldn't give the people the opportunity to get into Bitcoin, right? Without that, when Bitcoin hit 20,000 in 2017, and it would have never gone back down to $3,000-$4,000. A lot of people would have never been able to buy Bitcoin back up. So the fact that it drops is dropped in the history, right? In the previous history, 80%, 85% has given people a chance to say, I see how far it can go, and I think I have a chance to get back in and ride it to the top again. And in the meantime, you can be making tons of money, whether you're buying and selling, selling the tops and buying the bottoms if you're lucky, right?
Yeah.
But I do believe Bitcoin is going to be that store of value, that hard money that is going to replace the world reserve currency in the future.
Yeah, I'm not positive that I'm on board yet with as much as I love my crypto. I'm not sure that I'm
$1 million
on board.
Bitcoin, dude. Who's gonna want to hold something else as a reserve currency if it's Bitcoin's at $1 million?
I don't disagree. My problem with that idea is I just have a hard time making the leap that our government is going to literally allow a decentralized asset be the store of value as it relates to all things, money.
It's the only way they can keep themselves without going insolvent. What other solution do they have to the hole they've dug themselves into?
Well, you already know part of it. Part of it is deflation as opposed to inflation, right? So that's going to start to solve part of the problem. And as
I don't
part
know.
of deflation, as that happens, bro, Bitcoin, guess which way it's going to be going? Down, which is why I believe that the best opportunity that you will ever have for people that think that they're too late in the crypto space right now. Today is September 10th, 2021. You can mark this down. It's on YouTube. We are taping this live, and it is on air. Mark my words. You are not too late. September 10th, 2021. The Crypto Keeper is telling you you are not too late. You are going to have an opportunity within the next 6 months to a year that is going to be unlike anything you have ever seen. These prices are going to absolutely explode here soon, and they are going to absolutely plummet when we hit whatever that event is, or as we slide into a state of deflation. They are going to absolutely plummet. And when they plummet, if you do what people like Warren Buffett say to do and buy when there's blood in the streets, that is literally the most successful thinking.
Yes.
And the most successful thing that you can do is buy when others are scared and sell when others are greedy, period.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Even your own blood is spilling in the streets. You keep buying. That's what dollar cost averaging is all about. So yeah, let's move on. Let's move on to Coinbase. Coinbase, the chosen one, the prodigal son, is now being threatened by the SEC, saying, "Hey, we don't like those high interest crypto products you're offering." Right. So what are your thoughts about that? I know we've discussed it before, but let's go into it now.
Yeah, so I am of the thought process that Coinbase, and I know this is, so listen, I have heard this elsewhere, so let me just preface this. I have heard Ben Armstrong say this, right? So
BitBoy.
BitBoy Crypto has said this, right? Now, let me preface this by saying I'm not an echo chamber with BitBoy, but I think what he's saying makes sense. I think that the SEC is not actually after, and he didn't really exactly say this, but I'm going to put a little tweak to it. It wasn't that the SEC is actually after Coinbase. I think the SEC is trying to make a statement saying, hey, listen, we are here to play ball. And when I say play ball, it means that we are here to absolutely lock you down, right? And so I think that they don't like DeFi. I think that they don't love crypto, with the exception of the fact that they're going to be able to ultimately tax and regulate it. And so I think ultimately this is a statement. I think that's all it is. I think it is a posture. I think it is them standing up and puffing out their chest and saying, hey, listen, we've got the top dog right here and we're going to sacrifice them, is what they're saying. But in the background, he's got his other hand right here rubbing his back, right?
It's okay.
Rubbing on, saying, hey, it's going to be okay. Listen, I've got you. Just let me, I'm going to whisper in your ear a little bit here. It's going to be okay. Just act like you're scared. Just act like you're scared. And I think that it's all just a ploy. I think it's all just.
Yeah, it's exactly right. It's the same thing as when they've been coming after Binance and they're coming after all other exchanges, right, that are not the chosen one. They're trying to push away people from coming into producing more DeFi products, right? We saw BlockFi? They came after BlockFi with some cease and desist in a few places, and it didn't catch as much mainstream attention and didn't scare people as much. Now that they're coming after Coinbase, everybody's like, whoa. Coinbase,
Yeah.
Right? The stock for Coinbase dropped like 11%, and there's more attention on that because it's Coinbase. So I definitely agree that it is just a ploy to scare people away, because what are people doing? All you gotta do is get a stable coin, put it into a BlockFi or Coinbase or whatever, and get between 4 to 8% interest rate on a stable coin when your bank is giving you nothing. Right?
Bro,
bonds are giving you nothing.
Yes.
So what are you going to be putting your money into? A stable coin. I don't need to get into crypto. I just need to get a stable coin, and boom, I got way more money than what I did with my bank. And they are afraid of that. They're afraid of banks losing power.
Dude, you could not be more on point. For anyone that's watched us for any amount of time, knows that I get amped up when we start talking about banks. Right? Let me give you an example of our beautiful bank. Right? So I had, you guys know, I own a construction business. I had a large check that was written to me yesterday from a customer that has written me large checks before. Okay, customer writes the check. I have more than enough money in the account to cover said check. Okay. Wake up this morning, going through, doing my thing, getting ready for the day, and I just, I always check my banking, make sure everything's good, blah, 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 doing my payroll. It's Friday, doing all that, right? And I'm like, it doesn't look like that check actually went through, which I have an agreement with Chase that says, hey, one day we will, clear all your checks, especially with the understanding that you have the money to cover the amount of the check. And it hadn't gone through, and it said that they were putting a 10-day hold on this check, right? And I said, whoa, wait a minute. So I called them this morning, and then Mr. Dye, we're so, basically kind of kissing my butt a little bit. And I'm like, listen, what is the point here? What are you trying to do? And I'll tell you what they're trying to do. They rely on me not making that phone call. They rely on people rolling over and saying, well, I guess I just gotta wait, not being communicative, it's kind of like other things going on in our lives right now, right? They are relying on people basically just backing off and saying, oh, it is what it is. And then what would they have been doing? They would have been taking that whole amount, right? And immediately they already have the funds, right? They say that they're processing and that they're figuring. No, listen, it is instant
They're
anymore.
loaning it out.
They are able to verify with another bank during open business hours whether it is good or not. It does not take 10 days, I freaking promise you. And so what are they doing? They're loaning out your money. They're trying to make basically what amounts to short-term capital gains off of your dollars, right? And so I hate the banks. And what this is saying is the SEC is saying, "Oh my gosh, banks which run this country, which basically
Are the
play us
puppeteers,
yes,
puppet
puppeteers for
masters.
sure, are saying, "Oh my gosh, the people have figured out a way to put a store of value that basically is stable. They figured out a technological way to keep it stable, and they're going to pay 4 to 9% returns on it. And it's not something that's, all over the place. This is freaking scary. And I'll tell you what it really is. It's freaking genius. DeFi, 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 and Coinbase is the chosen one. The SEC, this is all posturing. You can't, tell me I'm wrong, prove me wrong. Let me hear it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that all this, puffing of their chest is just because the government has not made enough room in the crypto space for itself to actually make money, right? They're just starting to come after people for crypto taxes, right? They still don't really know how to figure out who's making money in Bitcoin and not. So I think Blake Harris said a really good point when we had that debate with him about regulations. When we get the government hooked, right, hooked on the fact that they're going to be making money through crypto taxes and other ways, and they start seeing all that income coming in, they're going to be like, oh, we like crypto. Let's keep this ball rolling, right? I think the problem is that they haven't found their way of being able to do that yet, and they haven't gotten that that first dose yet of income, and then they're like, oh wait, right? So once they get that first dose and they see how much money they can be making, right? Just like the legalized marijuana, it was a big deal. Oh, the minute it got legalized in states and states started taxing it and they were making a boatload of money, they're like, yeah, we're good. Next state, and it's no big deal anymore. Federally, they don't even talk about it.
Don't be confused. The facts are very simple and straightforward, and the facts state that they are trying to figure out what's the best way to put themselves in a position to be at the front of the front of the at the front of the line when it's time to go through the buffet, right? They
Yeah.
want to be up front and be able to get their first serving. They want to come back through and be the first to get their second serving. They want to be the ones that are able to get as much as they can. And so right now, it's like, holy mackerel, this is a new technology that we have. And here's the other thing. Don't let them tell you they haven't been studying this. Listen, these people are not stupid. They're really not. As much as I'd love to just absolutely trash everyone and be like, oh, they're just absolutely stupid. They're not stupid. They will play stupid with you because it fits their agenda. They will tell you that they are, this whole XRP lawsuit, I think, is at this point, it's all but over. But they're playing back and they're playing back and forth, trying to basically again posture to make time. And I think that's what a lot of this is. It's like, hey, if we're going to be able to make money doing this, if we're going to be able to make money taxing this, if we're going to be able to make money as a result of this, fine. But we also need to be in a position to control this. And right now, we see some avenues for making money. We don't have a full on handle on how we're going to control it. So we need what can we control right now? How fast things happen. What can we control? Whether people are going to start to feel some type of way about, oh my gosh, the SEC. Listen, man, I don't want the SEC knocking on my door. Miguel, think about it. Talk about stifling innovation. What was one of the first things you and I talked about when we started talking about our business that we're into now?
Securities.
First thing we were talking about, like, wait a minute, like, is this going to be considered a security? Right? When I was talking to my attorney, it was, hey, listen. And why were we worried about that? Because I don't want the SEC knocking on our door, bro. I'm just fine with my 125 followers or subscribers and talk to you guys and doing my little consulting. And you know what I'm saying? Like, we are good with that. But as we grow, we want to know that we're doing the right thing. And they are ultimately going to stifle some of the innovation as a result of saying, hey, look, we're going to regulate you. But we can't exactly tell you how yet. You see what I'm saying?
It's because the whole example you use about the buffet line, right? They've noticed that they're at the back of the line, and they said, "Wait a minute, what kind of rules can we put in to hold this line up so that I can make sure that guy in the front doesn't get that piece of pie before I do?"
Yep.
Right. So they're trying to come up with every excuse possible, every play every play that can come in their book to slow things down. And they've noticed that when institutions started coming in and Bitcoin's been exploding in price this run, they're like, the only thing we can do is we need to go after DeFi, and we need to go after FUD articles about SECs suing people and bringing down Binance and bringing down this other exchange, so they can scare people and it can scare newer people from like, wait, I don't want to deal with any of this stuff, right? All this legal mumbo jumbo that I barely understand is going on. Plus, crypto's already confusing enough. I'm just going to hold down and wait for them to tell me when I should buy back in, when I'm allowed to buy, right? When is it safe for me to buy? When is it legal? And when that happens, it's going to be too late for retail to be getting in. And that's when BitBoy Crypto said, right? When Bitcoin gets to $1 million, there's not going to be any retail in here in Bitcoin. And then that's when they're going to want to sell you Bitcoin. That's when they're going to be telling you, Bitcoin is the asset to be buying, right? That's when all the financial advisors are going to be saying, hey, if you're trying to save if you're trying to maximize your 401k, if you're trying to retire rich, you got to be putting some Bitcoin on it. You got to be investing in Bitcoin. But it's done. It's too late. Move on. You missed the boat.
I like what actually I love this. So Mark Cuban said, Brian, when he's talking about Brian, he's talking about the Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong. Yeah. Brian, this is regulation this is regulation via litigation, right? So basically, what he was saying was they're not capable of figuring this out themselves, and they don't want to make mistakes along the way. Right. So they're just going to say, hey, SEC lawyers, can you please just kind of work through this for us and just basically, say no here, say, well, what if this there? And basically exactly like he's saying, it is regulation via litigation, as opposed to saying, hey, okay, here's the deal. We want X, Y, and Z, and we want it to look like this. We think that this is what makes sense. Listen, I think personally that this shouldn't be the SEC. I think these should be considered commodities myself, which is
Yes.
a whole different, discussion. But all I'm saying is they are so scared that the only thing they know how to do to slow down the train is litigation, is grab a lawyer, right? If you want to scare somebody, send them a legal letter, right? And you know what I mean? I'll tell you, when I'm, a lot of people know my dad's an attorney, right? And so I can't tell you the number of times, and my dad used to tell me, like, quit that, like, of like when something would come up, and it's not just throwing it around, it's serious. It's like, hey, look, when you throw out that, well, you know what, let me talk to my attorney about that. It literally, like, people do not want to go to court. They don't want to pay for legal fees. They do not want to be inconvenienced, and they ultimately don't want to be drugged through, whatever kind of court case you might have for them. And
Yeah.
so that's ultimately what the SEC is saying, is relying on. They're saying, hey, look, if we throw these, we've got plenty of money, right? I mean, shoot, taxpayers are paying for these attorneys, right? We've got plenty of money out there. Let's just go ahead and slow this whole train down via our army of attorneys that are able to basically, work through this for us.
Yeah, exactly, 100% right. Just scare people into complying to make sure that they can benefit and hold back innovation. And like I said before, I think that they're making a big mistake. I think that when China got rid of Bitcoin mining and China handed over its control of Bitcoin back to the world, the United States should have taken that opportunity to say, now's our chance. We're going to consume all the Bitcoin we can, like Texas is doing. All right. Texas is, if you can look it up right now, Texas is actually passing a bunch of laws to, really make Bitcoin like the second currency of the state. And the United States should be consuming as much Bitcoin as possible, storing it up, passing as much friendly innovation laws for crypto, especially for Bitcoin, right? So that it can improve innovation, it can improve its systems of money, and it can make its dollar stronger by adopting some type of Bitcoin standard in the future. And instead, they're doing the opposite. They're trying to fight it off. They're trying to fight an inevitable battle of them losing because their dollar is crashing. Their dollar is slowly dying, and people are starting to wake up to that fact. And if they don't have anything, right? Even with the deflation going on, deflation is not going to save the dollar. They're not just going to reset, because to reset the currency at the rate that has been destroyed, deflation would literally mean, the whole country will go down in flames for them to be like, we saved the dollar, but we killed everybody else. So,
do you think that they care about you?
Well, if we don't have money, their corporations don't get money.
Yeah, but at the same time, who was getting money left and right in 2008? I know you were young.
Well, yes, I understand that they were bailing out banks, right? But I'm saying that doesn't happen with deflation, though. That's the opposite. That's inflation. They had to print money to give banks money. But if they do a deflation hard enough to try to reset the strength of the dollar to a viable standard, that would literally burn the country down. People would be starving and die. Would be far depression.
Yeah, so we are going to be in a massive recession. I do believe that. I believe
not recession, like massive depression, right?
Dude,
Like
I think
further than what we
literally think that's where we're headed. I think that we're headed there because at the end of the day, they cannot continue. If they know one thing, they know for a fact that if they continue to make the money printer go burr, that they are going to absolutely collapse the dollar, and the dollar will no longer be the world reserve currency. And to give that up would be absolutely.
I don't think they can stop.
So well, they would have to give it up at that point. If if they continued to print, it turns into Venezuelan money, right? It's just absolutely worthless, and they can't do that. So I think this option is, and very simply, hey, listen, dude, look at what they're doing already. They don't care about you. They don't.
I know they don't. I'm not saying that they care about us. They don't, right? I understand they don't care about us. But what I'm saying is they can't they can't put the brakes on the train, right? The train is full speed ahead. There's no brakes left on it. Because if they try doing what you're saying about the deflation to reset the dollar, if we're starving, if we're dying out here like how it was in the Depression times and worse, right? Because it's going to be worse than what happened in the 1929, 1930s of the Depression. How is Amazon going to make its money? How is Walmart going to make its money?
Well,
How is
they're
how
gonna
they
get same way as in 2008. They're gonna
no,
be the ones that are
they
going
can't.
to. They're going to be the
You
ones that
can't
aren't
be
going to be
printing
defaulting.
money. You can't be printing money when there's a deflation going on and there's a contraction in money
That's
supply.
not what I'm saying. Listen, people are going to be defaulting on mortgages. Who's that money go to? The bank. Who is the bank in bed with? Amazon. That money is going to be basically flowing the wrong direction. Now, let me go one more step. Do you really believe that our government right now that is warning everyone about inflation, do you literally think that they're doing that to help us out? No
They're
freaking
not. They're
way,
not
dude.
warning. They're not warning
Yes,
people about
dude,
inflation.
I
They're
will
saying inflation is transitory.
no, not now. They were just talking about it the other day. They were giving stern warnings about inflation incoming. What's his name? Hold on a second. I'll pull it up. Stern warnings on inflation coming in fast. Dude, they are not doing this to be good to us. This is going
I don't
to
understand
flip
your point of
on its head.
when you're saying that these companies are going to be making money when they're. How can you be printing money at the same time to feed these companies the amount of money that they make to keep their gains somewhat equal, and at the same time be having a contraction in money supply?
These
And having
companies are going
deflation?
to absolutely be hurt by this as well. But guess who
They
has
won't. I don't think they would allow that to happen. Amazon, Walmart, they have enough lobbying power to like keep the inflation going, just minimize it. It's just kind of like it's like a pressure valve, right? When there's too much pressure and the
They're
dollar.
already past that. They're way past that. They're
What
way
I'm saying
past
is
that.
there's too much pressure in the pot when inflation's getting too high. And they're like, just ease it down a little bit, release some pressure, and then do it again. Release some pressure and then do it again, but never to the point where you release the entire pot and you go into
Have you looked at
deflation.
gas prices recently?
Of course.
Yeah, they've started to go down. Have you looked at lumber prices recently?
Well, no, not lumber
They've
prices.
started to go down. Have you looked at milk prices recently? They've started to go down. It's happening. I'm telling you, it's happening. I genuinely believe
Dude,
it's happening.
no,
And it's going to start with stagflation, like we've talked about before, where people are not going to be, they're going to be starting to listen. The
I just
bank,
saw something up saying that things got 8% more expensive last month to the year before.
why are the banks starting to hold, are not loaning out money anymore?
The money crunch, that people were talking
The
about.
only reason you do that is if you believe the dollar is going to be more valuable. Because if not, they would be if they were going to keep the money printer going burr, guess what? They would be handing out money left and right on purpose. They are literally my buddy is a mortgage broker. He said the mortgages recently have gotten so much harder to get now because they do not want to give the money out anymore. Dude, the only reason they're doing that is to hold on to cash reserves. And they have enough to hold on. The
Okay,
people, the average person doesn't.
so I agree, right? I do agree
Welcome to Debate Crypto.
that they're doing this, that they're doing those things to conserve cash. But I think if their play is to have deflation, it's not going to be a depression level of deflation. It's going to be a short-term lived thing because we cannot go through multi-year long crisis like how it happened last time, where it's way worse than the depression in the 30s. The companies nowadays will not allow that to happen.
Well, deflation hedges include like investment bonds, defensive stocks, dividend paying stocks. There's also and cash, right?
Yeah.
So all of those things are going to
Increase
as a result of deflation, right?
Yes.
And so the real value of debt, we've talked about that before, becomes greater, right? So I have a $500,000 mortgage, and now all of a sudden, that $500,000 is a lot more money and a lot harder to pay off, right?
Yes.
And so ultimately, guess what it does? It keeps you continually in debt, debt in debt. But that's also why I think this is going to be a fabulous thing too, Miguel. It's going to be a fabulous thing from the standpoint is if you can stay above water, if you can stay afloat, right? And you already have or can get your hands on more crypto, i.e., Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, some of these other assets that are big time that aren't going anywhere. I think that it is the greatest opportunity ever because the dollar is going to be getting more valuable. And as just a direct result of that, Bitcoin is going to get exponentially cheaper when this dump happens and they're going to have something to point at. It's going to be, the coronavirus, it's going to, oh shoot, it's YouTube. I can't say that, but you know what I mean? Like they're going to have something to blame it on and point the finger at. And so I think it'll be interesting, dude. I think at the end of the day, we can agree to disagree on it, but the facts are this. If we continue to print, we fail 100%. If we ease off and head the other direction, it's going to have a lot of people collapsing in on themselves. But I'm not talking about literally bringing the whole economy to a grinding halt. I'm just saying it's going to go from this to this to this and start to come down. And as it comes down,
if they do that to themselves, the $23 trillion that they owe, how are they going to pay that back? When the dollar is going to be even harder to have.
I actually saw something on that. One of the things that they were talking about was they were asking to raise the debt ceiling, and I don't know how that. So listen, you know how I am. Like if I don't know something, I don't know. I don't know how that works, but I heard someone making commentary on, and I don't know who it was, but they were making commentary that basically suggested that the government is able to essentially, as long as they can keep the dollar what is in power, as long as they can keep the dollar, that world reserve currency, they are able to basically maneuver and position and give up
borrowing against it or something.
Yeah, that they were able to do that. Now, I don't know the specifics. So, and if anybody, somebody in the chat, knows how this high level economics works, hey, toss it in there. But I
mean, that's fine, right? But the thing is, if they were to do that, they're digging a deeper hole for themselves, right? Of more debt. It's going to be harder to pay off their debt than what it is if they keep inflating it. Their debt becomes easier to pay off. I think it's easier to keep inflating the currency. That's why they call it quantitative easing, right? To keep inflating the currency and have times where you inflate a lot and then have other times where you decrease the inflation for a few years, right? So you can kind of like metal it out and then inflate again, and you can extend. It's like stretching out a rubber band slowly and then other times more, right? Yeah. It gives you that versus if you just let go.
I disagree. I think we're at a point where I'll give you an analogy. I think we're at a point where if you continue to print money, we are a ticking time bomb ready to explode. If we start working into a stagflation and then deflation, it is digging their own hole, right? They're going to dig a hole, but they're able to put a ladder in there to be able to climb out as that time happens. Literally continuing to print does nothing but the debt is so high right now that they're at a point where why have you not heard anything at all about any more stimulus? Because you're not going to get it.
Yeah, regardless of whether we get it or not, I mean, it's just that if you print more money and you inflate the currency, it's easier to pay it off versus if you deflate it. And then what do? You deflate it, you make the currency, you make the debt way harder to pay off. And then what? You reinflate
your debt longer.
You reinflate it again.
Who owns the debt? The banks. Who continues to be in debt? You and I. It works. It does because they own the debt, right? And so you're talking about government level debt to maybe other countries, whatever else. I have no idea on that. Yeah. But at a very core level, these banks are stopping loaning out money because they know that the dollar is going to be more valuable, right? And that literally when that happens, guess what? It's harder and harder to continue to pay off those loans. And guess what? Guess who actually owns your house when you don't make your payment? The bank. And if you think for a second that these lovely bankers aren't just waiting to take your house from you, you would be lying to yourself. So I guess at the end of the day, all I'm getting at is these are the same crooked ass people that want to, excuse my mouth, that want to that want to shake your hand, and then if you like, have you ever seen the meme where like they're like shaking hands and the guy has his hand around his back and he has a knife in his other hand, he's getting ready to stab him in the
Yes,
back?
yes,
You know what I'm talking about? And
yes,
that's
yes.
what it feels like with the SEC, which is where we started, right? And then just our government as a whole. I don't trust any of it. And I think we are in for a rude awakening. And I'll be honest, I'm pivoting for my construction business a little bit to the type I'm pivoting to do some more commercial work, because I am scared that the residential homeowners that are spending all of this money right now on their homes are not going to have the ability to do so for too much longer. And we make so much money off of these high end, home additions and projects that
Yeah,
it's like, ugh, it makes me freaking nervous, man. It does. It has an effect on everybody across the board,
yeah, yeah. I agree on that. So yeah, Mr. Whittington says,
I saw what he just said.
if they defund the national debt, what happens when China comes knocking on the door, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I don't know. I don't know. And that's the big question. Like, right, we're able to bail out. Our government's able to bail out our own banks, right? What do we do when it comes? Yeah, China's not going to knock; it's going to kick in the front door. Good point, Jacob.
Yeah.
And what do we do, right? When what does our country do? But what I'm getting at is if we can keep the world reserve currency as the dollar. I think that is their overall goal, because that world reserve currency says one thing: power, and that ultimately is what I think we're interested in. So,
But you see, I think their best play for that is what I said earlier. Now that China has released the Bitcoin back into the world, hoard all the Bitcoin possible.
do
Just how
you
they,
think they actually released it back into the world?
of course, they did.
No, hell no. You want to know what they
No,
did,
no, they got rid of all the mining, or that
bro?
they could look with all the mining supply that
Oh,
they
we've
had.
got to hold on. We've
Listen,
got a couple minutes to talk about this
yeah.
one. I got a
So,
crazy theory for you. Go ahead.
so with all the mining that they had in China, right?
Okay.
They literally just go to the company and say, "Hey, we're buying the Bitcoin back from you, right?
Mhm.
For whatever price they want." And it's China, so it's either you comply
Right.
or you comply.
Okay. Yep.
So you take all the Bitcoin, right?
Okay.
And then that would have launched their digital yuan
Okay.
way stronger than any other currency,
Okay.
right? And the United States should be doing this, consuming all the Bitcoin possible, just how
Okay.
it consumed all the gold back in the 60s or 50s or whatever it was,
Okay.
consumed all the gold of the world, and then said, now we're backing our dollar by it. And then backing their dollar with Bitcoin after consuming as being the biggest Bitcoin whale would have made the dollar the strongest currency forever.
This is a great idea. Now, what you just said makes a perfect sense. However, China, right, comes
Yeah.
knocking and says, "Hey, you get like the Bitcoin can't go on," right? They know, however, how much money is involved, right? These are the same miners. They could have taken all of their equipment, crushed it, got rid of it, said, "See you later. You will not do this here." And oh, by the way, you're not doing this anywhere, because if you're not making money for us, you're not making money for anyone, right? So what I really believe, and I'm not kidding you, I genuinely believe that they sent out their soldiers and they said, go out to all of these different places, because China still has control. These are still Chinese owned companies, right? They've sent them out into other parts of the world. Right now everybody kind of lets their guard down a little bit. It is now okay, China can do their digital yuan and they can look like, hey, we got nothing to do with Bitcoin. All the while they have double agents all over the globe,
Doing what?
collecting and making and mining Bitcoin all over the place, that ultimately is funneling back to them, and they have eyes on different parts of the world. I genuinely
Eyes,
believe that.
eyes. How does a Bitcoin miner company in another foreign country have eyes anywhere relevant?
Well, I mean, they're ultimately planting high level businesses into economies, right? So they go to Texas, right? And
Mhm.
you've got these high level, whoever it is that's doing all this mining, that comes in and starts to make massive amounts of money They are actually in our country. They have access to whatever it is that we are doing over here. It opens us up. I think it opens everyone up to think exactly like you were thinking. Like, oh, China is no longer. They've got nothing to do with Bitcoin. They're not in it at all. When in reality, they're back here like this. They've got all their little freaking their little dogs that are actually on a leash. Because why would they have let them leave? That's what I don't get.
I think
Why would
I
they
think
actually let them leave?
I think they let them leave because they're gonna probably try to consume another project. They're gonna try to create some type of Chinese sponsored crypto.
Who?
Like not a digital yuan, but like a quant, right? Like an XRP, like a bootlicking
Yeah.
a China bootlicking crypto that is gonna favor them in some type of way in their economy. Because if these people go into these companies go into these other states and countries, right? The Bitcoin that's being mined is most likely going to stay there, right? Like Texas, right? Texas is going to be consuming that Bitcoin. China's not going to get that Bitcoin back.
Why?
What do you mean? Why? Texas government wants Bitcoin in the state, so they're going to consume the Bitcoin, right? And they're going to spread it through its population, right?
Maybe.
Why? How would that Bitcoin be going back? The government of Texas will probably be going to these miners and buying up their Bitcoin.
Maybe
I mean, if they want,
so, but hold on. But maybe so. But where is that money that is owned by Chinese companies going? It's going back to so literally they are staking
the dollars.
They are however they get it. Yeah, they're staking a claim in all of these different places and making money off of them and having the ability to be all over the place and still raking in that profit and have the digital yuan. Because the reality is, Miguel, you can talk bad about the CCP and get shot. They could kill. So literally, they're doing something that's illegal. They had been told to stop how many different times, supposedly, right? And then, oh, by the way, you know what, guys? Yeah, we thought about it. Just go ahead and leave. And then they rub them on the back and say, oh, by the way, here, take all your mining equipment with you. No freaking way. I don't believe it. I just don't. It doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense. Whether there's a way bigger thing in play there or whether I'm just crazy, but I don't think I'm crazy. I think they would literally just say, hey, you know what? Enough's enough. We're done. We're going to kill you, or you're going to stop and you're going to give us all your mining equipment. And oh, by the way, give us all your wallets and addresses and everything else. But that's not what happened. These miners are actually leaving, taking Bitcoin, massive amounts of Bitcoin and mining operations with them. Nah, not happening. They're just letting
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. I just don't see how they're benefiting from it.
How they would benefit from it. I think there's probably a lot more to it, and I'm probably not doing a great job of explaining that. But dude, we have ran a little over this evening. You got anything else? Any last words?
That's it for me.
Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you guys. We love you as always, and we appreciate all of your time. Until next time, guys.